Welcome to the REI Rookies Podcast, the Real Estate Investing Rookies Podcast, episode number 89, where we invite you to follow us on our journey towards financial freedom using the power of real estate. I'm Jack Haas, and Josh Koth is sitting right next to me typing into a spreadsheet. Here at REI Rookies, we believe in a couple key principles. The best way to retain information is by teaching it to others. And number two, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're not competitors, we're a community. So let's get into some real estate investing. This week, Maura McGraw from Duratus Properties joins me on the show. Maura and her team are crushing it in their market as they manage a fix and flip business and finishing their first new construction project. We chat about how she got started in real estate investing, how her marine experience and mindset have helped her business, a helpful video marketing strategy that we are now implementing ourselves, and how she found her business partner, and how they find good contractors. So let's get into the show. Well, thank you. Maura McGraw is on the show here with us today. Thanks for joining us, Maura.
Having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it was. We met through a mastermind. A couple different events, right? Traveling events. And
yes, we're part of one of the same networking groups, which has been great.
Yeah, it's really helped Josh and myself as well. And but on the last mastermind, we were visiting, and you started. Let's just start things off with. Tell us about yourself, your market, and what's going on. What do you specialize in down there?
Okay, well, I'll start off. Obviously, my name is Maura McGraw, and I officially started in real estate investment and development this past February. So coming up on a year here in a few months. And prior to that, I was an active duty Marine for 8 years. So I served overseas, did a tour in Okinawa, Afghanistan, did several deployments all over the Pacific, came back, and just before I got off active duty last September, I was an instructor at the Marine Corps Basic School in Quantico. But as my husband my husband is also a Marine, as we were coming up closer and closer to our 10-year mark in the military, and it's kind of the time when you have to decide if you are going to be all in or if you're going to be out. We realized that some of our priorities had changed. The military was a wonderful career, probably the best thing that a young person can do. The most challenging, exciting, formative experience. It was fantastic. But it does come at a little bit of a price in terms of your personal time and, your ability to balance things outside work. For the past 8 years, I didn't see my husband, even when we weren't deployed, I hardly ever saw him just because the job was kind of all consuming. And as we started wanting to have a family and have a little bit more balance in our life, we realized that we were going to have to make a big change. And I was really lucky because I grew up, my father is a real estate investor and developer. So I'd been kind of watching from the periphery his business grow. He started doing development in Southern California. Now he's branched out. He's in 12 different markets. It's been awesome to see his business grow and the lifestyle that it affords him. And so as I started thinking about my transition out of the military, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. There were so many things that I liked about real estate, and I had a little bit of a model to kind of base my own business on. So I started putting everything into place to make that happen as I transitioned out of the military. So literally the day that I got out of the military, I started a graduate program in real estate development at Georgetown University. I started working as a project manager on one of my father's construction projects, which is where I met my business partner down in Birmingham, Alabama, which is where the preponderance of my business is now. And then in February, we officially started our company, my partner Chris and I started a mentoring program with Matt, which was great. I also started in February. And from there, we've been just slowly building the business up. And maybe one of the interesting things about my model is that I don't live full time in Birmingham now. I knew when I started my business that I didn't know exactly where my husband and I were going to end up, because he was still in the military and he was applying to different MBA programs. So I kind of just had to pick a market that made sense, knowing that my life was going to be a little bit in flux and that I would be needing to travel around at least for a few years. So that's how it is right now. I kind of split time between New Hampshire and Alabama right now, because my husband's at business school at Dartmouth. So right now I'm in Alabama, and I spend probably about a week in Alabama a month. And then I do my side of the business remotely the other few weeks of the month. So I do everything, like the business side of the business, raising money, the financial analysis of all of our deals, and kind of everything that goes into operations management. And then luckily I have a great partner, Chris, who's a general contractor, and he lives in Birmingham, is on the ground every day at our construction sites or our flips. So that's a little bit about me. Sorry if that was a little long.
No, that was great. One thing that I find always interesting is, you met your partner, your business partner, through your dad and those projects there. What drew you two together? What strengths and weaknesses do both of you bring that attracted you to work together like that?
This is a great question, because if you met Chris and I hope that you can someday meet him in person.
I think I did, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you did. So you probably know that we're pretty different. We're pretty different.
Yeah, very different people.
But so we started working together. I was kind of filling a project manager role for one of my father's construction projects, and he was a general contractor on the project. And he had been working with my father for a few years. My father spoke very highly of him. So I kind of knew that he was one of those hard to find general contractors that you can trust, which, as you know, those are very hard to come by. Mm-hmm. And we're very similar in age. He's 33, I'm 30. And he had been doing, contract work for other people for his entire career, and watching a lot of other people make a lot of money and, him still not make as much money. So he was just at a point in his life where he was ready to kind of go out and do this for himself. And our interests were kind of aligned, and we had these opposite but very complementary skill sets. My kind of business background, with my graduate degree and kind of watching my father run the business side of his business, and then him with his construction background, it was really kind of the perfect two skill sets, because he had all these skills that I didn't have that I needed, and I had the skills that he didn't have. And even though we are very opposite in a lot of ways, we actually work together really well, because I think we both really value honest, transparent communication, and we appreciate that the other person brings so much to the table. So, I watch him, he's literally built, I'm here doing a final walkthrough of a house we've built from the ground up. And that's amazing to me that he can literally take a empty piece of land and build a beautiful house from the ground up. And then I think I just blow his mind with some spreadsheets every once in a while, or he just doesn't like to look at those. But yeah, we are pretty different, but it's turned out to be a great partnership.
Yeah, and so most of your business actually is new construction or full rehabs, right?
Yes. We are probably more on the active side of the investment. We've done a couple wholesale deals, but we focus more on flips. And this is our first ground up construction project that's about to deliver here this week. But I think, we definitely are more active. We don't do so much wholesaling because for a few reasons. One, people have caught on to the fact that Birmingham is a great market. It cash flows really well. So you have a lot of people here that want to wholesale. And I think, flipping in some respects, it is a lot of work. and it's hard to find good contractors. So I think that the competition, there's just not as many people in construction and in flipping. So we found that was, we had that skill set, and that's where we could, add the most value and find the most opportunity. So yeah, we do focus more on the active side.
Right. So when you are out hunting for contractors, I know it's probably your partner doing some of that, but what have you found, like some of the keys to finding good contractors in your market?
Oh man. Well, that is still a constant struggle. So my partner obviously is a general contractor. So we are constantly looking for good subcontractors. And luckily, he's been in the business for a while. So he's made a lot of those contacts on his own. And I'm so lucky because he brought a lot of those contacts to our partnership. But that being said, we're constantly trying to grow our team. So I think he has several tricks that he uses. I know one trick that he uses is he'll go to, Home Depot or Lowe's early in the morning, and he'll look for all the other contractors and subcontractors who are there early, getting to start on their day, because he said he knows that way they're planning their day. So he'll find some that way. And then what we really do is if we're going to try someone new, we'll try them on a small project before we give them a big project. So we'll give them like a very small task. Okay, make sure that you do this very small scope of work, get it done on time, on budget. And then that's when we can give them maybe a little bit more leeway and step it up that way. So we don't, and we've learned this through trial and error, not to just throw someone new into a big project and expect that it's going to go great without a lot of supervision. So, but I mean, that's a constant battle. We're still working on building our subcontractor team out.
Sure. So how do you find those opportunities that you do work on? What's your main source of finding those properties with the proper spread?
So this has evolved over time, but for us, we found that working with professional realtors, brokers, and my partner Chris actually has just a natural skill for finding good deals himself also. That's how we have focused the way that we source our deals. And I've tried other marketing methods, and they work. The other marketing methods work. In fact, I think that my direct mail campaign worked too well. I was getting just hundreds and hundreds of calls, and I just decided that's not how I just didn't want to spend my days answering hundreds of calls. So we just decided to put some time and training into working with, we have 3 realtors and 1 kind of property finder person. We just put a lot of time into training them on what we look for, what neighborhoods we focus on, what type of properties, what to look for. Like Chris will go with our realtors and show them, okay, here's what I look for when I look at a property. And he taught them how to roughly estimate how much a rehab would cost. So that's how we focus our deal sourcing. And it makes me a lot happier, because this way they know what I'm looking for and they bring me deals that I'm looking for. So it's, I don't feel like I'm spending so much time looking through deals that just, aren't really what I'm looking for.
Right. Do you go boots on the ground, take a look at these places, or how do you evaluate?
Yes. I do have Chris go look at every property before we start the rehab at this point. There may be a point in our business where we're big enough where that's not feasible, but we aren't at that point. So Chris goes and looks at every property before we close. And he, because of his experience, he knows what to look for. He knows the good neighborhoods. He knows he has an uncanny ability to estimate our rehab costs. I'll I'll put it all in the spreadsheet and be OCD. And it's funny how it'll usually come within a few $100s of what he estimates just based off of his walkthrough.
Right. Yeah, we use I'm a bit more like you in that regard. I have a printout that I bring on my clipboard, and to give me a good estimate of what everything's going to cost. And in the end, on the other side, Josh can kind of off the top of his head have a good idea of what needs to be done and the value of the cost of it. So I'm a little bit more nerdy on that side.
Yes, I think I'm a little bit more nerdy also, but I think that's probably a good partnership, though, to have the two different approaches to the project.
So one of the things that really caught our attention was during the mastermind, you brought up that you recently did a video. And I thought it was such a great way to market yourself. Could you, and I'm going to put a link to this in the show notes so that everybody can see it. But can you give me a little idea of like what caused that? What was your thoughts behind it? Who are you using it for marketing to and towards and that type of thing? Because it did grab everybody's attention.
Yes, absolutely. So what kind of inspired me to do this was whenever my now there are three of us now, myself, Chris, and Aziz. So whenever we would sit down and talk to someone, whether it was pitching to a bank, an investor, even people we were looking at, working with, they would see our team, we would talk about what we're doing, and they would get it, and they would want to be part of it, and they would get it when we could be there in person and show them what we're doing and what we're about. But that same thing did not translate over the phone, and it wasn't translating over email. And so obviously that was a challenge to me because I wasn't in Alabama all the time. I was only there 1 week of the month, but you can't only work 1 week of the month. We need to get things done all the time. So then I started thinking, like, how can I communicate to people who we are and what we do and have a similar sort of reaction without the whole team needing to be there for every single meeting? And I was like, okay, what is the closest thing to the in-person interaction? It's video, because that we can kind of show who we are, what our backgrounds are, and give that feeling that people, they get it when we're in person, but it's just hard to get otherwise. And so that's where the idea came from. And so then I started looking for a videographer, and I literally just put it on Facebook that I was looking for a videographer to do a video. And I found a couple examples of other videos. They were from different industries, but things I liked, and I started, and I happened to find a great videographer, this guy named Chris Brown. And I can give his contact information, but he used to be an editor for a GoPro. So he's very talented. Mm-hmm. And so we connected and created the storyboard and the video. And I really have to hand it to Chris Brown because he did a great job. And I think he did a pretty good job capturing who our team is, what our background is, what we're about, and what we do in a short video. And it's been really, really helpful for me to be able to show that to people, to send it to people, and then to kind of quickly get it. Okay, that I understand what Duratus Properties is, who they are, what they're about. And I think video connects with people in a way that, maybe a phone conversation or an email can't.
Mm-hmm. Well, you inspired us enough that we hired a company for ourselves to do something similar.
Great! Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we're moving forward on it. We had some footage already shot, and we're thinking about taking your idea and adding a couple things to it. I think we actually heard it from somebody else too, where we might have multiple videos, and one of them is to do kind of a personal introduction video and include it in an email before we go see a seller, so they have kind of a warm intro to us before we walk in the door. So
I think that's a great idea.
So yeah, this video thing, I don't know why we didn't jump on this before, but thanks for the spark when it comes to that.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. Yeah, it's been a positive game changer for us. So I know you guys you probably don't even need any help. You're already crushing it, but I think whatever the price is, I think it'll be worth it. People just really connect with video.
Well, we found that most of the things that we do that end up being successful is something we've learned from somebody else. So We have to give where credit is due on that. So let's talk. People like to get into the nitty gritty on some of this stuff. So, can you give me a couple examples? Like, let's talk about your best deal so far.
Probably my best deal was our second flip. This we do all single family homes. So this was our second one. I should have pulled up all my numbers. So we bought it for 53 and we sold it for 103. And we put 10 grand into it.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And, but
really
with closing cost, we ended up selling it through a seller network to another investor. So you can probably add another 8 grand in there. But yeah, the profit margin was great. It wasn't a huge rehab. We did kind of we put on a new roof, painted the interior, upgraded some things, but it wasn't a ton of work. It was in a good area with a good school system. And I think the rehab took about 3 weeks. And I think from start to finish, it took about 90 days. And that was our best deal.
Kept the holding costs down. That's great.
Yeah.
So, I think what's really telling there, and we have similar numbers to a certain extent here in my market, that people are always amazed that, first of all, you almost have to buy these properties almost half of the ARV in order to make it work, because the spread there can get eaten up really fast, depending on what you plan on doing.
Right. I mean, that is the name of the game. And I think anyone in the industry will tell you that you make your money on the buy. You really have to buy it right and be really picky and careful.
And then, so on the flip side, what has been your worst deal so far? Or like you said, if you're not earning, you're learning, right?
Yeah. So I think we're just about to finish our new construction project. And I think that, it has just been a huge learning curve. Chris has been in construction for years, but this is his first ground up build. So, unfortunately, we're just about to put it on the market. So I don't have the numbers, but I can definitely tell you that it's been a huge learning curve. And I think it'll be worth like every day and every dollar, but it is, we thought originally we had scheduled it out. We thought it was going to take 4 to 5 months. Turns out it took 8 to 9 months. We thought we were going to be like right at $75 a square foot for our construction costs. Now being done, it's around $80 a square foot, which doesn't seem like a huge deal, but that adds up for a 2,000 square foot house. And the time is really what shocked me, and how I really have learned a lot about, how tight your scheduling has to be, how you have to have everyone lined up, about, organizing, processing, the permitting and inspection. There's been so much to learn about building a house from the ground up. So it's taken much longer than we originally anticipated, which is, it's been a little bit tough, because is it ideal to deliver a new construction project in December? Historically, no, that's not the exact, we started in February, so it would have been perfect if we had delivered it in the summer like we planned. That's when the best time to sell is. But that's not how it ended up. It took us longer than we had expected, and we're about to deliver in December. So, hopefully all is well, and I can get back to you on how the sale turns out. But yeah, it's been a little bit of an experiment. But my partner and I say it all the time. There's definitely been, some tough learning points and some setbacks doing this new construction project. But I think we are better as a team for having gone through it, because we've learned so much. And I'm really excited to see how our second project goes, because we've learned so many ways that we can streamline our process, tighten everything up. I think even last time, this is what I was talking about at our mastermind group, is what techniques are people using to manage their construction projects. And I came away with a lot of good ideas. So, this first project has been difficult and challenging, but I think it'll pay off in the end, which is what I know you guys always say. We learn the most from sometimes the most challenging jobs.
Well, exactly. And I'd have to think, this is part of that big, what Josh and I are, it's so big on mindset, in this case, I'd have to think that there's been a lot of that experience as a Marine. You really can directly relate to real estate investing, because it does take some willpower to keep going, especially with, there's been some setbacks there, but in the end, you'll probably do okay.
Yes. That's been a huge thing. Actually, the name of my company is Duratus, which is a Latin word that means to endure. And endurance is one of the Marine Corps leadership principles. And that has served me well in the military, and it served me so well in business, because in the military, you're given a mission and it's just never an option for you to give up. You always have to find a way to accomplish your mission. And it's just never can enter your mind that you're going to give up or not do it. And that mindset has really helped me be successful in business, because when we come to a challenge, and there's been several times where we've come to a challenge, especially in this new construction project where, we didn't immediately know how to fix it, but instead of giving up and saying, we can't do this or whatever, it's just never an option for me. We keep going and we keep learning and getting better. And I think, I hope, and I think that this is just the beginning for us. I think we'll continue to build and improve. And, I love what we're doing. So, I really don't plan to stop. It's not really in me to give up or to stop. So hopefully it's just the beginning.
So with that, what are you, I usually like to ask this because it's usually pretty telling. What would you say is one of your favorite books? If somebody's getting into real estate investing or just needs a jolt when it comes to mindset, what book would you recommend?
This one's easy. It's Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And
I'm reading that one right now, actually.
Oh my gosh. I just love it. I made, when I was an instructor in the Marine Corps, I had all my lieutenants read it. And it's such a great book, because Jocko Willink, he's a Navy SEAL commander, and he applies military principles to both leadership in the military and leadership in business. And he breaks down these principles, and he'll give an example from combat, and then he'll give an example in the business world. And I love Jocko. I think his mindset is great. He has a great podcast and some great interviews, but his book it's so good. I think it really obviously resonates with me, because I can relate so closely to those military principles, and then seeing the applications to business, I can see such a direct application. I think it's so valuable. So to me, that's, if I had to say, if you need one book that's going to give you the right mindset, I love that one.
Oh, that's great. Are you reading anything right now?
So a lot of my reading is definitely related to my master's degree, which I'm finishing up, it's all real estate stuff, although it's kind of some boring tax regulation textbooks. But
that takes some willpower to get through too, right?
Oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. But I did recently finish up two of Mike McCalloway's books, Profit First and The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. And I really liked those. I thought his ideas were really interesting. I think Profit First is really compelling. And I'm in the process of trying to implement that into my business right now. And I know that you had Mike on your podcast. So, I thought his books were really good and really applicable for a new entrepreneur.
Yeah, we had him on our show. And after that, I read Profit First and Clockwork. And and what Profit First does for your pocketbook, clockwork does for your time.
Oh, perfect.
So, yeah, highly recommend that book. It's great.
Add it to the list.
So, well, it looks like we're probably quickly running out of time, but I wanted to say, where can people find you if they want to connect with you? Yeah.
Well, there's a few places. I try to be pretty active on social media. So our company is called Duratus, Duratus Properties. So you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or at www.duratusproperties.com. Or if you want to connect with me, my name is Maura McGraw. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I would love to hear from any of you and help in any way that I can.
Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me here today. It was great chatting with you. Always learn something from you every time we're in a mastermind or networking. There's always something to learn. So I really appreciate it.
Yes, it was so great talking to you too. I love what you're doing. I love watching your success. So keep crushing it.
I'd have to shoot it right back at you. So
great.
Thank you, Maura. It was great chatting with you. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Okay, awesome. Have a great day.
That was Maura McGraw from Duratus Properties. Head over to reirookies.com for links to her website and their video on YouTube. If you have any thoughts or questions, shoot us an email at info@reirookies.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at reirookies. And if you like what you're hearing, head over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really helps other rookie investors find the show. And remember, get off the bench and into the game. We'll see you next time.
I don't like to tell a man what to do with his money, but if you ain't investing in property, then you're dumber than a dummy.
I'm not dumb. I'm smart.
Well, buy property. That's my advice.